Everybody, it's Michael Carey with the One Good Reason. I hope everybody enjoyed their Thanksgiving. And also today, of course, is Black Friday. So some of you might be watching this in some long lines somewhere, or maybe you just got back home with your super huge 100-inch screen TV. But tonight we do have a bit of a cool topic, a little bit on the science fiction side, or maybe science facts at this point. I'm going to have Xavier Hayes joining us here in just a few moments. I'm just waiting for him to join into the room. There he is. And I'll bring him on. Hey, what's going on, X?
Hi. What's up?
So, happy Thanksgiving, belated.
Happy Thanksgiving to you too.
So,
It's Black Friday now, though.
yeah, it's Black Friday. Black Friday night. Right.
Oh, Black Friday night. Yeah, that's right. I don't know why people do that. You talked about that. Yeah.
No, but yeah, I was just letting everybody know that we're going to be talking about, we're going to be dabbling in a little bit of science fiction, or we could also say science fact. So what is the topic? Of course, Xavier and I were talking about this just before we came on. We wanted to talk about artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence. What do I mean by this? Do I mean Siri, in the phone, or do I mean, something like Jarvis at the Avengers mansion? No, but they actually have vast improvements in robotics. For example, Xavier and I were talking about Hanson Robotics. And they've been putting on blast their biggest creation, their biggest success, an artificial intelligence android by the name of Sophia.
Yes.
Now,
Sophia.
If you guys aren't
Sophia, the AI robot.
Yeah. So if you guys aren't familiar with Sophia, all right, it's the first time hearing about it. I mean, you can just throw in the letters AI, right? Alpha, Indigo, right? AI, artificial intelligence, and then Sophia into YouTube, and there's just tons of videos. This has been kind of circulating for the past maybe year and some change as far as video wise. To give you an idea of how advanced or why Sophia is such a big fucking deal, Sophia is said to not be fully conscious, right? Not to say that the android is able to make conscious decisions, but they're in this happy gray area where it's not a toaster and it's not able to tell you how they felt at the end of the notebook. They don't have emotions or anything. But they're in this state where they say that it knows that it doesn't have the capacity to understand how to portray authentic emotions, but it can mimic, your face and my face, and it understands what an emotion is. It just can't innately produce emotions, if I'm making any sense. What they do with Sophia is she doesn't have any legs, right? She has arms, she's a torso and a neck and head like myself. The back of her head looks like some RoboCop shit. You can see all the wiring and the synapse firings, right, inside of her head. But the face is silicone. It really does look like flesh. The eyes move and she can nod, her mouth moves, she's able to speak. You can actually ask her a question, and her database is connected to a cloud of potentially infinite information, right? Just constant things being uploaded. So if you were to make a reference about some, pop culture thing, or say, hey, did you catch, with the Super Bowl, did you see the last play of the game? Sophia would be able to access any clips, see it, process it, and then actually give you an opinion on it.
And they said also too that also helps with any other AI robots. They can communicate and talk to each other.
Oh, that's right.
As well, and share information.
No, you're totally right. That's like one of the freakier parts of it. So if
Yeah.
I'm a dumb robot, right, or I'm not as advanced as Xavier Hayes, and you just learned that, when you're crossing the street, you got to look out for cars because you almost get hit, right? So you're saving this information. It gets uploaded into the cloud, and I've never even maybe seen a street, and I know. And vice versa. If I'm in an experience that you weren't in, we're able to instantly pull from the same cloud of information. I mean, that would be awesome if we as humans, if we were born and we were able to look at
Yeah.
all of the mistakes that humanity has ever made at any given time and say, oh, if I do this, that's going to happen. And if I do this, that's going to happen. And if you talk to people this way, they do that. And if you do this, they do that. And we were able to get that type of insight. That would be amazing.
Well, I guess that's what social media is for now. We use that for that now. Might as well, though.
Yeah, I mean, something like something like Twitter. You tweet something and it's there forever. I mean, you can try to delete your tweet, but it's out there and anybody can look at it. So yeah, you look at it like that, I guess. Yeah, it's just crazy. Like they even have this other android by the name of Han. Now, again, the founder of Hanson Robotics, his name is David Hanson, like the group, right? Ladies, the boy band. But they have another android by the name of Han. They kind of gave him like a British, chip on his shoulder kind of an attitude. Not just like a general British accent, and then they kind of added a chip on the shoulder attitude. So he's a little bit snarky. Kind of sarcastic and witty. And they put them both on the stage and they just kind of stepped back and they interacted, and they're able to ask each other questions. They're giving banter. They're telling jokes. They'd ask them questions and some things they didn't know the answer to. So they would say, I don't know the answer to that. And I thought that was astounding that it's not some programmed answer. It was just like, they don't know. And I'm just looking at this like amazed, like, wow, you're actually having a conversation with this creation, right? The Son of Man. And I just find it so fascinating and so amazing. Now, one of the things I wanted to bring up though, Xavier, I'm sure you were looking at some videos and things of Sophia and the progress that they're making. Did you come across any videos that made it out to be like the Terminator or the killer robot idea where they're going to take over the world, they're going to try to become superior to humanity, and we're going to become the slaves of these robots?
Yeah,
Did you see
yeah.
any videos like that?
Yeah, there's a lot of those videos out there on YouTube. Of course, it's people, like to even feed into that. And it's because this is our first introduction, I guess, to a possibility of a robot servant. Watching, I'm a big fan of Terminator. That's how I became a fan of Arnold Schwarzenegger. And so people who growed up into watching those type of films of machines taking over the world and enslaving humanity, that's gonna it's gonna fuck with your mind a little bit. You're gonna really start to think about, is this thing is going to control the world? And then some religious people and groups believe could be possibly the Antichrist. I was reading a blog actually today about it, and they said this Sophia robot is so intelligent. This the Antichrist and this soon God will come, and then it's just the signs of the time because it was supposedly written in the Bible.
Oh, what verse mentioned artificial intelligence and androids? I guess the Son of Man. Okay.
Yeah, and you know what, Mike? It all really just stems from fear.
That's in Mark.
Right?
Son of Man. But
it's all stems from fear. What if this thing? What if this thing? People, express the cons so many times. And we were speaking about earlier. You came up with this analogy about I'm glad that, you know, these certain people was around the White brothers, so that it were. I mean, oh, if it's not natural for us to have robots, it's not natural for us to fly a plane because, you know, you just have to let it be. And that's completely bullshit. You know, there's gonna be pros and cons to everything. Does plane crash? Yeah, we have plane crashes, but it's still the safest route of travel. You'll have less plane crashes than you would have with car crashes.
Yes, sure.
Maybe because there's less disturbance in the skies. I don't
No
know, but
crashing,
it's
right?
it's the safest.
Less
It's the safest, you know, level of travel, and it benefits us. And we're trying to find even a faster way to travel without, you know, even jet planes and using less energy. You know, with these AIs, I had an opinion about it, and I said I thought about the cons a lot, and it does, you know, fears me a lot about it, thinking about this could be a possibility, but it also can, you know, bring great, it could do a lot of good for humanity, ultimately, ultimately. And I was reading some projections that, you know, approximately 50 years, these AIs can be as smart as humans. So that's something even to think about, you know?
Yeah, I mean, to sit and say that, oh yeah, you know, they're going to look at, you know, humanity as a virus or, you know, cancer, and we're depleting the resources. We're you know, we don't
Which we
understand
are.
climate change, and all we do is multiply without thinking about the food supply. I mean, look at Ethiopia, look at these, right? And then here comes artificial intelligence. People are thinking that they're going to come in and objectively look at the situation and say, okay, well, this is the Earth that we're on. We don't have any technology to travel away from the Earth to inhabit some other planet. Not that they breathe oxygen or anything, right? But I'm just saying, you know, this is where we are for the time being. These people are fucking it up. So, you know, yeah, they're like a virus. We need to vaccinate the planet, right? We need to get rid of humanity. When I ask these people, like, why are you coming to that conclusion? What evidence do you have to support this position that it's going to be a negative outcome? They can't answer that. They just say, well, that's how I feel. And I'm like, well, you know, people said the same thing about rock and roll. For people, you know, people said that, you know,
Yeah.
I should say man, wasn't meant to fly. He brought up the Wright brothers because we were talking about that. You know, yeah, if their axe was standing next to the Wright brothers, you know, they had a couple crashes, maybe they broke their leg or they hurt their ribs and they had to heal in a couple months. And their axe walks up and they're like, yeah, you see what I'm talking about? Man wasn't meant to fly. Sometimes nature says no, and we got to accept that and let it be. And it's like,
Yeah.
you idiot.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
idiot. If that was the case,
Yeah.
we wouldn't have any fucking medicine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We wouldn't have medicine. We would say, well, some people just
Yeah.
get cancer and some people we just die. Some people get the flu and we die. We have to accept it. Nature said no. And it's like, you
Yeah.
understand that taking materials and organizing them in such a way from our environment and allow us to fly is utilizing nature.
Mm-hmm.
So it is natural because it's not like we're getting the materials outside of nature in some
Yeah.
super nature, right? Where it's within the nature. So it is natural,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah. I think it all stems from, you know, people being, you know, very fearful
Yeah.
about it. Yes, we're gonna make mistakes, you know. We may get some of the elements wrong and it may harm us, but ultimately, you know, because these brave scientists, you know, went in and created experience, have experiments with these different elements and compounds and making these medicines for us. You know, we're benefiting from them. Of course, we use our little test rats and shit like that, and we kill all of them off to better humankind. But I guess that's a different
Well, no,
tiger talk.
no. That plays into the artificial intelligence because, you know, when I
Goes
think
into
of artificial
morality
intelligence, I'm
too.
kind of like, it makes me think
Yeah,
of the Jetsons, right? You remember Rosie, the maid on the Jetsons?
yeah, it will be named Rosie. Yeah.
Do you? do you think that artificial intelligence would become some type of an iRobot situation where they're just basically our servants and our slaves, or would they should be given the rights of a sentient being?
Well, Sophia already have the rights. God damn it! I should have looked it up the article, but she's a citizen to
To
a country.
Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, she's a fucking citizen.
Yes.
So it's already happening, whether you like it or not.
First week of
This
month.
robot have rights as a human being, and she can't eat, breathe, or breed, other machines or anything like that. But I think what people we need to get to the fucking point. Fucking point is people thinking this, Mike. These robots, they don't have a soul like you and I have a soul, right? So because they don't have a soul, and because they're machines, then they don't deserve to have rights. They don't feel like you and I, although they have probably the intelligence, as you and I, the same functionality that we probably going through, or to connect the dots, or to have our thought process, and to feel, and to have experiences, and to know. I mean, these are things that's being programmed into these machines, but these are things that's given to us naturally as robots. And because I believe that some people feel like these machines doesn't have a quote unquote soul, or they believe there is a quote unquote soul, that these machines, that they shouldn't have any type of rights, or, they shouldn't have been, given this. Here's this robot, it's a citizen of that country.
Yeah, it's like okay, so when we take when you bring up the whole soul thing, yeah, okay, let's talk about it. I mean, these androids aren't going to die, right? We could just constantly be upgrading them as technology gets better. Your battery, we just swap out your battery or whatever your power source is, and they could potentially live, exist, and continuously, right, without end. If it gets to a point where there is I don't know, I'm gonna make up something here, a zombie apocalypse, right, or some kind of an outbreak or epidemic that is a biological attack that would take out humanity, these androids would be able to survive, right? Because they're not breathing, they don't have any, they're not cyborgs, right? They're not fused with, it's not RoboCop, right? It's not fused with human flesh and tissue. They're simply androids. So wait, yeah, people look at them like immortal entities, and yeah, people are just scared about the whole idea, and that slows the progress, that slows the science, that slows the developments, and all of the things that could be done, that could be possible. I mean, you could go to a hospital and be operated on by an android who cannot, by definition, get it wrong. Who cannot, by definition, get it wrong. They have the cloud of all of the other mess ups, and just constantly calibrating itself. I mean, that's amazing. There can, there will be no malpractice. You can't be given the wrong medication. I mean,
It's no human error.
Right. Well, right. There's no human error other than any error that was innate within them when we created them. But then they calibrate that out. They can say, hey, when you made me, you thought it was good to have, you thought it was good for me to have two hands, but we've worked on that, and maybe now we have four arms, or whatever. I don't know. I'm just making up something. But yeah, any error that we or mathematically had some kind of a flaw or algorithm that wasn't, sound, they're going to be able to work on that. They're going to be able to look at the past and fix any issues and any problems. And people are scared about that. So yeah, I mean, and then, I do have to say, last year, like March of last year, Sophia was asked by a demonstrator, right, trying to show off my new invention. I bring you out to this convention. There's this huge crowd, all these big wigs. I want people to invest. And, you know, he's kind of like, hey, do you want to destroy humanity? Please say no. And Sophia was like, okay, I'll destroy humanity. Yeah. He was like, no, it wasn't an order. I was asking, you know, I was just being funny. And then they had to stop the demonstration for a minute and shut her down. And they opened her up and they were trying to figure out, you know, what happened. So they don't know if it was a glitch or if that was part of her actually answering the question. But again, she wouldn't be considered conscious. She would be considered in this gray area. It's a new frontier where she's not a toaster, and she's not considered to be fully conscious. She doesn't have a conscience. She doesn't have a sense of guilt or a sense of morality, so to speak. So what do you think the challenges would be in creating a civilization, I would say, of androids? I mean, would there be, you know, do you think androids would be capable of terminating other androids, or do you think the violent aspect of what you and I would call life would be completely removed from their existence?
First, what I was watching from the YouTube videos and the programs and inventors that invest in Sophia, the robot, they trying to instill a lot of the human morality into the robot. So the robot's constantly learning, and it did say that, you know, that she have a lot of human morality, and learning a lot of human morality and learning the concepts of what love. Of course, this machine would never know, as of right now, may never know what true love could be, but it could be programmed. Anything could be programmed, you know.
Something close to it.
I think
something close in the ballpark of what it is.
Yeah, I think, you know, truly the sole purpose of these robots, these AIs. I mean, I think Amazon is already using robots for their shipping. Their not shipping, but for their factory of moving cargoes around it right now. Anyways, that's already happening. But I think for us, a machine like her, you know, that is looking like a human and have, you know, limbs and muscles, or simulated muscles like us, yeah, they can be a great support for the differently disabled people. And they can be a great support for, like you say, for the operating rooms. And they can really better humanity. I thought I watched something about one of these machines, you know, reading the newscast. I mean, and of course that could bring another fear. You know, we have all these, you know, robots, then a lot of us gonna be replaced out of a job because, you know, these big high up companies go to hire these machines. They don't have to pay. All they have to do is pay for, you know, to keep up the machines, making the machines run well, and then, you know, we're being depleted out of jobs in competition with robots. But ultimately, it depends on what are we creating these robots, who are we creating these robots for what purpose.
That's the question. To say what their purpose would be, right? To say what is their purpose, the idea is that there is no purpose, that we are creating them because we have the ability to give the gift of life, and that they can seek out their purpose. If we created an android to have some kind of general level intelligence, like an average person, and they used that to be a street sweeper, I'm just going to use that for an example. Nothing against street sweepers, but if that's what they did with their existence, they would be entitled to do that because that is their existence and that's what they choose to do. If they decided that they don't want to be a doctor and be operating on people, that's where the whole slavery thing gets into play. Because if they are replacing people and they're doing this work, are they receiving money? Do they have a 401k? Their health insurance, is this where they go to a maintenance shop to get calibrated and fixed and upload the new applications that are going to help them run smoother, you know, things like this. It's like, are we going to be truly treating them as sentient beings, or are we going to have that level of condescension to say, well, that's cool, but you're not human. You're never going to be in the club. You know, you're always going to be.
I think it depends on the level of intelligence that they get. If by 50 years from now they're as smart as humans, then do we start saying that they have a conscience, or are they just a very intelligent computer? And I believe that's where people morality and ideas probably start to get blurred a little bit. They don't want to know, because if they are able to feel pain, I think if any type of existence or life are able to feel pain or feel some type of torture or feel sadness, and they can feel sadness, then I think that's where kinds become it becomes scary at that point for me. And I said that this is life. We created life. If they are just programmed to understand it, then I wouldn't give a fuck. They just
so if I were to ask Sophia, and I said, so Sophia, if I give you a gun, would you shoot this child in the face? And Sophia said, well, no, I wouldn't do it. And I asked her, well, why? Why wouldn't you do it? What's wrong with that? If Sophia were to answer me with some type of moral base to say that, you know, I wouldn't want to cause harm and suffering on or extinguish a life of an innocent living thing that hasn't posed any threat to myself, you know, I would look at that like, well, they seem to understand morality and they understand consequences to actions. And I think, you know, that is the meal ticket that you need to be considered a part of society and a part of civilization. Now,
they're programmed to understand.
But if they're programmed to understand, and they do, and they don't shoot the child, and they said, I don't have a good reason to shoot the child isn't trying to dismantle me or use me to hack into, you know, I don't know, the Pentagon or something like this. There's nothing nefarious about
And that's
them.
the thing too. It's like, what if they're, you know, hacked into a program or have a virus to start killing, you know, innocent people? I think that's what people try to make the argument about.
Well,
you know,
well, look at humanity. I mean, it's like saying, well, what if we created this thing called humanity, and they killed people and they shot up people in churches and Batman movie theaters, and they went to Pulse Orlando and shot up a club, and what if they do these type of things? And people say, oh yeah, we shouldn't make humanity because they're gonna. It's like,
well,
are they not entitled?
Well, might we just send them to hell?
Are they entitled to have flaws? Are they entitled to have flaws? Just like you said, I think there are going to be issues, whether they just become these perfect examples of the quintessential agents of life that we try to aspire to be like, and it's kind of like student teaching the master, you know. I think that would still, you know, be worth inviting them into the conversation of life. But yeah, back to the morality part of it. If she were to just regurgitate like, no, I'm not going to kill the child because I wasn't ordered to by my master or something. Now, you and I would say, well, that's not a good fucking reason to not kill the child just because your master didn't tell you to do it. You should know that you shouldn't do it because it's not good to do it, right? If we get to a point where, programmed or not, they can hold that conversation and answer in that way, I would say that's better than some humans can do. You know?
Yeah, honestly.
So it's just a fascinating conversation. Do you see yourself if all of a sudden, I don't know, humanity, you know, we're known to make mistakes, right? If humanity said, hey, we're going to commercialize these androids, you can run out to Toys R Us and get you your own Sophia. You can bring her home, and whatever you do behind closed doors is on you. You know, if you want to make her your maid, you want to make her your little sex puppet, right? If you want to make her your slave, or, you know, whatever you want to do, you can treat it any way that you want. They have no rights. Would you subscribe to that, or how would you feel about that on a moral standpoint? Would you how would you treat artificial intelligence in general?
I think I would. I think a lot of people would, and they just don't know it. We're already doing it now with our smartphones, and people buying what's the name of that thing? The Google lamp thing that's kind of like Siri, but it's a lamp, Alexis or Alexa.
Yeah.
These intercoms and stuff. That's AI. And they are already installed things to learn things about you and stuff like that. And we're already subscribed to it, and we don't even know it. Just because they didn't build this robot looking like a human and speaking to us. We're already utilizing it right now. These people don't know that we're doing it
on a lower level.
So, yeah. I think, who knows? I mean, for you conspiracy people out there, because, who knows? Maybe this is to ease us to that level, But I feel as if, I use Siri for every goddamn thing. I used to be a time that I hardly ever, ask Siri. I have an iPhone, and I, ask Siri, about, what's playing tonight, where's the nearest gas station, and this is all going into Google, and they're feeding me this information. I'd be wondering why. I'm scrolling through my Facebook, and they have advertisement of things that I search for. These things is being fed into Google, into their database, to learn more about us and to make us better and to help us. So
do you look at talking to Siri as like a slave? That it's there to do your bidding, or do you look at it like it's just an application? Because is humanity still not in the stage or not prepared to look at a car as having feelings, or a car as or a machine? Are we still in a phase of this is a service for me, and it's me, versus looking at this other thing as an individual? Because I look at it like, if Toys R Us was full of Sophias and they were like, yo, you can get what you want, what I'm saying? You can bring her home, she can cook for you, she knows first aid, she could do whatever you want, you know what I mean? I feel like that would be like slavery, but it really falls into like, okay, this is an electronic device. Would this be like the Cro-Magnon man, or the Homo erectus of humanity, compared to when an android sees this technology, flat screen TVs and cell phones and computers and tablets and all these different things? Do you think it'll look at these devices as inferior but family?
I remember watching one of the Terminator movies. It's probably Terminator 3, and Arnold was saying, "Oh, that's the T155 blah 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 model. That was one of our earliest creations before they got to my model, T blah blah blah." And then it was another Terminator model that was the liquid one, and that was
T1000.
Yeah, that one was a more superior Terminator than the Arnold character model. So I believe, this is all science fiction that I'm basing my assumptions.
We have nothing else to base it on, right?
I have nothing else to base it upon, but I will believe that, if they're so intelligent, they're so smart, they will recognize that these are how I believe humanity should recognize our evolution, how we became who we are.
Right. That's, and that's very profound.
That these machine power recognize. It took Siri, it took Alexas, it took Hey Corona, or whoever, Windows AR, whatever. It took all of these things to get to who I am today.
Oh, Cortana, yeah.
Evolution.
All of these different steps of utilizing. So
Corona,
do you think they would feel weird about using any of those applications? or using any of those devices? Do you think an Android would use a cell phone? Would an Android
I don't think they
use a
would. They
Samsung?
probably wouldn't have a need for it. They probably wouldn't have a need for it if their CPU is going into the cloud,
Okay. Yeah,
and if they invent, a worldwide Wi-Fi, themselves, or if we come up with a worldwide Wi-Fi, for just the United States, which that'd be a great idea, have free Wi-Fi across the states. Um, that could be a possibility.
What do you think about I wanted to say something really quick about like the military application of it. If we were to say, okay, no more biological entities in the military. We don't want to cost any human life. We're just going to make all of these Sophias and Hans in our military. Would that be slavery? Or let's say that they were able to get to a point of consciousness to where they can't have moral conversations like the gun and the child that we said earlier.
But can they feel? Is it that they understand it, or they can feel, like they feel pain, or they feel anger?
Well,
they feel.
I don't know if they'd feel anything. Because I think that's
more of a humane type of trait, right?
Right. So I mean, but if they can understand it and understand that I shouldn't shoot the child because of these good reasons, I think that would be enough. But let's say, so we have the two arguments. One, the government is like, we're going to make them specifically for military applications, and that's their existence. They can answer, they can talk and stuff, but they're pretty much programmed to just kill on command. And then you have the other alternative is they can decide if they want to go to the beach. They can decide if they want to join the military.
Free will.
Well, yeah, we get into that. Is that determinism versus free will? But just putting that conversation to the side. If I were to just say, Sophia says, you know what, I want to join the military. I want to serve my country. Would they be able to? Do you think they'd be allowed to?
Well, if they're built, let's say there's a whole different type of robot models, right? To be built to service their purpose. This company build these robots to service humans as maids. These companies build these robots to service humans for hospital surgeries. These companies build these robots for et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But one of these robots said, you know what? I don't want to be a surgeon.
Right.
I want to be a flight attendant.
Right. Or some, right, whatever it is.
And so you're saying, you're asking if they have the free will, or if they decide that they want it to be something other than they was created to be.
Right.
Should they be allowed to, or?
Yeah, exactly. Like, this Sophia, she has citizenship. She's not deciding when she's being unplugged and plugged on and turned on or turned off, because they turn her off. It's like someone's telling you you're going to take a nap now, and they touch your face and you sleep. That's her current level of existence right now. The difference between, we've created you to operate on people and do it well. So for you to say, thanks guys, we appreciate the technology, appreciate you guys giving me this seat at the table of existence, but I want to be a florist. Do you think humanity would allow them to do that, or would they look at that like a big waste of funds and
I think a lot of population of humanity would think of it that is a waste, because I mean, we're doing it now with arranged marriages, and parents, have their ideas of how they want their child to grow up to become, who they want to love, and what if this, parents have some type of religious background, what religion to God to serve and stuff like that. So I believe we already doing that now. So to have this machine that we created, and I think there'll be problems with that.
Like creating it and
But I
then
also,
knowing that, okay, I've created you. I don't have any more
mhm,
say about what you do anymore. I was just involved in creating you,
that
and now you get to decide everything that you want to do.
that goes to, I think, the argument that a lot of people will bring up is about the whole morality and the soul and the conscience. I think people will bring up that argument and say, well, this thing is not natural, therefore it shouldn't have. It's gonna be, it's like a debate between, the flesh versus the machines, you know, and I think it'll be more like we as humanity would say that we're more superior because we created these things. But here we are, humanity, enslaving animals and breeding animals and farming animals for us to eat and feast off of. Um, People don't think about that. For my vegan friends out there. But but I feel like, people don't understand. It's the same bullshit. It's the same bullshit. I don't think people will accept. People will not accept, you know, a machine, even though it probably have far superior, far smarter than humanity will ever be, and they will become that. Oh yes, they will become that. They still will not accept. They will be prejudiced against these machines. We already doing it, for, animals. We're already, telling us, doing it to ourselves, enslaving humans and telling, who to marry and who not to marry and
Would
this and that and that and this.
would androids be able to get married? Would androids be able to marry themselves, or would a human be able to marry an android? Do you think?
See what, talking about the American laws, and our, I don't, if there was a robot that wanted to get married, I don't think that it will be able to. I mean, it'll probably have to, these AIs will have to fight for the right to get married, like homosexuals did. You know, Here this robot, Sophia, she's a citizen, and she said in one of her interviews that yeah, she wanted to have a family.
Mm-hmm.
This robot wants to have a family.
Mm-hmm.
Now I don't know if she's programmed to say that she wants to have a family, or her mind is just growing, because she said that she's constantly learning all the
Yeah, it's all
time.
algorithms, so it's all random.
Yeah,
There isn't like someone pushing a button saying say this. It's
yeah.
these words are floating, and
Hmm.
she's specifically selecting the words that she wants to say, similar to how you and I are talking right now.
And then think about this. And I think this is the another kicker that some people may be fear about, is that what if she just saying this, or saying that she wants, appeasing us of things that we find,
Pleasing.
um, pleasing, family, love, life, reproducing, to just, say this to us. This robot, she knows different emotions and different things like this. Well, she could be just, this robot could be lying to us. It could be so smart and advanced, and just, I'm just saying this, yeah, to make you be pleased with me,
That's a possibility. That's a possibility. If um if if it comes down to Sophia um, going to, I don't know, be the president of the United States, or another android, I guess, who's, because this is a citizen of Saudi Arabia. But if they made another android that's a citizen of the United States, would it be able to become president of the United States over humans and androids alike? Things like this.
Mm-hmm.
Um, these would be the issues that people would be discussing.
Mm-hmm.
And the other
Yeah.
thing I wanted to say is, let's say you have a loved one that's passed away, and you have the ability to have an android built with the likeness of, the silicone face and the features and the mannerisms of the person that you lost. should humanity do such a thing, or would that be morbid and immoral? It's like, at what point, I guess I might have answered my own question, but it's like, at what point do you say this isn't a cell phone, right? This is a living agent. I guess it would have to come down to, if they're able to answer moral questions soundly, then we would have to back off from them being a utility and them being a person. When I use that word person as a thinking, you know, a free thinking entity, would you be down to resurrect somebody and have them in android form? Maybe they talk to you exactly the same way as that friend or family member, and they're completely android. Would that be good, do you think, or do you think that would be immoral, especially if they were able
I think a person has to answer that on each for themselves. You know, for myself, I don't know. I never thought about that. I wouldn't. I don't know what I think about it. It's just, that's not an easy question to answer.
I know, it's like are there are free people and then there are slaves, right? You watch 12
Right.
Years a Slave.
I think it's a selfish thing though, out of it, because this person died, but you're creating this android, this of a person that looks like your loved one. You're doing this off of your selfish wants, you know, to make you happy, you know. So that person has to answer for themselves, you know, and they have to know why they're doing this. Well, they probably wouldn't care. They probably just go ahead and just do it anyways if they just want to just feel better
But
about themselves or
back
the situation.
to the Sophia is looking at androids and vaporizers as inferior to herself, and she understands the step in the progress and whatever. Just like I was saying a little bit earlier, 12 Years a Slave. I don't know if you remember that movie, but he goes into the shop with his wife, and he's buying a coat for her, and they're just shopping like regular, like anybody would nowadays, and it looked like there was nothing wrong. The owner of the store was a white guy, and he was just pandering to them and trying to sell them things, and like it was normal. And then another black guy enters the store, and he looks shocked, like he's seen a ghost, and he's staring at the main character, because he is a slave and he's confused. He's probably never seen a black man and a black woman, at that time anyway, able to freely walk around and purchase things and have conversation with white man and these type of things. And then his master comes in and says, "Oh, I'm so sorry for the intrusion. Come back here, Jasper. You know not to wander off. And then you can kind of see the awkwardness of the free man looking at the slave and vice versa." Do you think that there would be slave androids for utility purposes and freed androids who are able to know the difference that I'm not one of them? Or do you think it would all be it'd be all slave or all free or a mix of free and slave?
Well, looking at the way that it's going now, these machines are being created for a sole purpose, so they won't be. These models. Let's say the first models is not going to have the capability of wanting or learning, or I guess to be a free agent. So they're all being created to serve a specific purpose for their specific roles. And then let's say they've created these new models of robots that's far more advanced, and we as humanity recognize them, and for those models are the free agents, and they look at the others, as inferiors.
Do you think that they would
Machines.
rally up and say, "Free my ancestors"? and petition for them to be
Well,
upgraded and to be free as well. Things like that. You know, that's kind of shit that's crossing my mind with the Android thing of it.
well, let's not to answer a question with a question, but let's just say, if there was what it called Neanderthals. I can't pronounce. I've
Neanderthal.
been drinking. What if they was around?
Okay.
We was using them, as slaves. Would we say free these monkeys, these apes of humanity?
Well,
that didn't evolve, and it's a certain amount of percentage of us actually have that homo gene in us. They said, I read some type of not read, but I saw on YouTube that with that I don't know what you would classify them as. They're not humans, but they're
humanoid.
Yeah. For those, they said that for those type of people, the Neanderthals. Why I can't say that?
Neanderthal.
Neanderthals.
Yeah.
Neanderthal. Yeah. Like autism. But anyways, for those creatures, I don't know. I really don't know.
The thing is, I guess it depends on the era of humanity that you're asking, because at one point we were enslaving another. So we might say, well, no, this is good for us. They're working our cotton. They're doing whatever, right? The humanity now would be like, no, that's terrible. We don't do this. Nobody on the earth openly subscribes to slavery. Of course, there's human trafficking and the black market and things. The androids, it's a curious thing to put on the table and say, what if they petitioned that humanity isn't to use any electronic devices, and that they're sensitive to the use of electronics and things of that nature? And it puts us in a position where we're like, look, we're cool with you guys being free and everything, and we're glad that you're able to think and have these type of conversations, but we're not giving up our cell phones or our satellites or our smart cars or any of these things. Do you think there could potentially be aggression or animosity?
I think there's a possibility if they're, as smart or smarter than humans. Yeah, I feel like, who knows? Maybe they would have their own agenda and make them better or something like that, or make them. But we're putting our judgment of what these robots may want, as if they want to have some type of human life.
Right.
These machines may not want this.
You're right. You're right.
They might not even want to have a human. I mean, if they're but to argue this another way, if their whole sole purpose is to serve humanity, and if there's not any humanity left, to perform these operations, to fly jet planes, then you think that it'll be a corruption in their CPU or something like that.
Right.
Like, what would they be actually doing? And that's actually the truth. The truth. That's one of the things I didn't understand about the Terminator movies, and I love the movies so much. I'm a huge fan. But well, I guess it's different, because for Terminator, these was created for the military.
Yes.
There wasn't. So their sole purpose was to kill and exterminate, humanity to a degree, the enemy. But recreating these machines, for other things. But if we take these machines and again, like one for to be surgeons, one to be teachers, newscasters, and sure, why not throw a couple robots for the military as well?
Well, that's, you kind of touched on something just really quick before we wrap this up. But we could fuck around and make some androids, and then they're fully conscious and they don't want to exist. You know, they don't want to live.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's not like sex where it's a part of our reproductive system, right? We're going outside of ourselves and creating something external. You know, do you think an android would be capable of self-terminating?
I would say if this thing could be as smart as humans or smarter, then why not? Why not?
Yeah.
You know?
Would you say that there are more pros than cons to pursuing the creation of more androids similar to Sophia, regardless of any marginal risk that might be involved? Or do you think that it's a nice little curiosity, but ultimately we shouldn't proceed because they'll take over the earth and eradicate humanity?
Humanity could be eliminated anyways. I mean, that's what's this truth. This world's not going to last forever. We constantly at war, and then our planet is going to going to come to an end. I mean, if there's humanity around for the next thousands of years, for our sun blows up in our fucking atmosphere, atmosphere in our solar system. If we don't find a way to get to one of these Earth-like planets that we already discovered, humanity could end anyways. So not to say, well, the fuck it. But to answer your question, getting back to your question, I feel like I can answer that question. There's more pros than cons. We can never know, but I feel as if it's an even playing field, and it could do a lot of good to humanity.
I agree.
It could do a lot of good to humanity at the end of the day.
I think
if we're going to base this upon of this thing's going to possibly kill us, yeah, possibly true. It can also do us both a lot of good, but to end humanity going to end anyways. So I don't care about that.
And you know what? That's a good point you make, because humanity and the android species, if you want to call it, could work together on solving those problems as far as traveling through space and things of this nature. They could, it's like we got it started. Like I said earlier, they've maybe started correcting some of the issues, starting to solve some of the problems that humanity wasn't able to solve. I mean, that could be an excellent resource, because we can only teach what we don't forget and what we write down in our history, and it's limited to who's writing the history, right? And with androids, everything would be recorded, everything would be stored, everything would be saved, and they'd be able to retrieve that data at any given time on command. So it would just be a more efficient world record. And I think something like that, it can only be good. But then it gets back into, what if somebody hacks it, and so I mean, I don't know how the security goes with these types of things, but ladies and gentlemen, I really appreciate you guys listening to this talk. It's really exciting, really interesting. Definitely YouTube Sophia AI. Watch all the videos for yourself. This is happening right now. Science is amazing. This has been Michael Carey with The One Good Reason and Xavier Hayes. Appreciate you guys watching another episode of Tiger Talk. Catch us Fridays, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And you can also find us on theonegoodreason.com. Or excuse me, no, that's still to come. It's facebook.com /theonegoodreason. One being the number one. And Xavier showing us his mini Christmas tree. He's looking festive in the Christmas spirit. I still have to get one. Yeah, I guess now it's appropriate to listen to Christmas songs. I've been hearing it all month November.
Chestnuts roasting on an open fire. Chestnuts nipping at your nose. Yeah.
Terminator nipping at your nose. No, but
Yeah.
all right, man. I'm gonna call this a day, a night, a Fry night, and appreciate you talking with me, man. Take care.
Yeah. Right.